Okay, well, thank you so much for joining. I'm Brad Bush with Strategy for AI, and this is part of our ongoing webinar series about the big ideas in AI. I'm very excited today to bring you um, a very interesting presentation about how AI is changing the translation industry and how businesses, especially medium-sized service businesses, can use the translation capabilities that AI is affording companies. Before I start that, I want to start by giving the premise of my business and these talks is to bring more human-centric AI to businesses. I think with all the fear mongering about AI replacing jobs and replacing humans, it's really important to understand that the real capabilities that are shaping businesses today are where AI and humans are working together to solve some of the more repetitive work and difficult work for humans so that they can continue to be more creative, strategic, and communicative with other humans. And I think this is where we elevate our teams and create cultures that are winning cultures against the competition, where we can not only save costs, but increase revenue and increase our cultures inside of our companies. So with that, I want to start the presentation. And if you have questions, please add them to the chat and we'll get them at the end. And I'll also open up the voice so that we can have voice chat at the end if you want to ask questions directly. Okay, the Babel fish reality. Okay, the great part about translations now is that they're in much more real time. Computers have been able to do translations and even relatively good translations, but it's taken days for those translations to happen in the past. So now you can get translations done in much more quickly. Now, why is this important, especially for service businesses in the DFW area specifically, which is what my target is that 1 in 4 residents in DFW at their homes speak a different language than English. So especially if you're B2C, but even if you're B2B, it's important that you're starting to speak in the customer's language. And that can translate itself into a large revenue impact, traditional and even cost savings, because traditional solutions for interpreters can be $100 to $200 an hour, and that's cost prohibitive for most small businesses. So for most small businesses, their website is in only English, they answer the phone in only English, and they send out customer responses in only English. So this can mean that they are missing out on businesses. So 3 converging factors that are creating an urgency in the way that medium and small businesses need to use translations inside of their business. And it's not just AI changing this, but it is the social and economic factors that are changing that are making this perfect storm. The ChatGPT AI revolution is on the left. With the technology breakthroughs now, machines, their accuracy has jumped from 60 to plus 90%, and that's only getting better. I use different translation services and even transcription services, which are the same type of services, and they are getting more and more accurate every day that I use them. And the great part is now we can have real-time voice translation, and with only around a 2-second latency. And the latency means how long it takes for the machine to hear to the time that it actually has done the translation. So near real time. And that near real time means that you can have conversations with people in other languages. And the cost has dropped, as we've talked about, 75%. The second thing is that market dynamics have shifted. remote work has normalized global work teams across all different geopolitical situations that bring in more people that are not native English speakers. And service businesses face skill shortages, which specifically can be filled by non-native English speakers. More and more B2B buyers and specifically B2C buyers expect multilingual support as the standard. Finally, the competitive landscape. Early adopters in putting in multilingual capabilities have reported up to 35% increases in international sales. And they've been able to achieve faster adoption and entry into new regions. And finally, we see over the long term that companies that don't implement this type of multilingual strategy losing out to deals. And it's becoming a must-have for businesses, table stakes. What would be one of my presentations without a acronym-based model? So this acronym-based model is the Trust Framework for Translation First Businesses. It's pretty straightforward. Target your languages. The top 4 languages, English, Spanish, Mandarin, and German, account for more than 50% of the global purchasing power. Work on real-time integration, figure out how AI can be used to embed that translation into existing workflows, existing voice audio flows, redesign the user experience. And we're going to talk about that in just a second, to be more than just translation, be specific to your business. How does the terminology and other things work that aren't just one-to-one analogous translations? Finally, start slow and scale as you go through. And then, just like everything else that I talk about, find trackable return on investment metrics. So here's a few different industry playbooks that I took off the web from different case studies. Insurance companies are using it today to do 24/7 multilingual claim intake forms. They're standardizing all their translation and training materials into multiple languages, automating policy translation to meet different state requirements. One company, Aviva, has saved over 60 million pounds and had a 30% improvement in their claims reduction through their multilingual capabilities. Consulting firms are using real-time translation for strategy sessions, especially in big multi-country deals, to build multilingual documentation for rollouts and a rapid document for M&A projects, especially when they're doing discovery on M&A projects. That's increased efficiency by 70% for these big deals and 2 to 3 month faster project realization. Legal services is a huge area where translation has become mandatory. Real-time interpretation for diverse communities. So if you're serving Spanish-speaking communities in Texas, you can start to use some of these real-time tools to help translate in real time. E-discovery capabilities, like we talked about before, especially in M&A and other contractual law, it's better to be able to do the e-discovery via automatic translation, and then standardized translation with final validation by humans can even cut down quite a bit. So the case study that I reviewed said they had 138 different language capability for this one client that they were doing for a single client. So I thought that was crazy, 138 different languages. Prop tech and real estate, they're starting to have multilingual contract and due diligence support to support multi-country big deals, tenant communications and maintenance coordination, all in to different languages. And you can imagine Spanish in Texas would be a great addition for that. And then global investor communications and marketing materials. As we know, China, the UAE, all other different countries are investing in the US. And so it's great if you can provide different translations. This is what I was talking about. Translation is a great part of the problem, but doing additional communication via cultural context is very important too. So don't just rely on the words. Have experts to help you learn the way that businesses communicate in the country that you're dealing with. And one thing I forgot to mention is this entire presentation is made with a tool that I use called Gamma. You might see that at the top. And Gamma allows for creation of the pictures via AI. And this picture is really funny because we may need some translation on it. It has some funny text in the background. But you'll see that the fingers have all started to be there. So we passed fingers, but text creation is not perfect yet. So create a technology foundation, which is the real-time translation. Make sure you get cultural intelligence in, and also build long-term relationships with your customers, with your partners, so that they can give you feedback when you're not quite meeting the bar on some of these cultural things or coaching specifically. Kudo is a great success story. I haven't used Kudo. This was from their website. They are a multilingual translation platform. And this is one of their stories where they did three-phase language transformation for an international law firm. And during that 3 phases, they were able to help them grow their revenue, reduce their costs, and have over a 700% return on investment. Again, I'm not a Kudo expert, but I wanted to show you with some of these tools, per the vendor's website, which is always interesting, they are purporting to get really great returns on investment. So that is one technology stack, Kudo AI. That is a relatively expensive technology stack that integrates with Teams and Zoom and is for large enterprises. But if you are looking at other technology stacks, here's a few different ones that you can look at. Microsoft Translator is a very great answer if you're in the Microsoft environment. So if you're using Office 365, that's a great answer. And you can translate up to 100 different languages in the text version and 70 plus different languages in the voice version. In Kudo, it is got built-in interpreters in the background. Like I said, it has great integration. So this is a great use for people that are in big professional service firms that need compliance. Google Translate Live is a much smaller tool for people that are using Google, but it's also for people that aren't using Google. It's great for small to medium business. That has 133 businesses built in. It's built into Chrome, and it has a mobile app. DeepL Voice has a lot of the European languages built in, so it's great for European markets if that's your focus. And so at the bottom, I've put a few places where these tools are best used, and you can pick where you are and what you may want to use next for your tool. I always try and include how and make these talks a little bit more real on how you can implement them into your business. So here's a quick 90-day setup plan. In the first 30 days, through the first 4 weeks, do your vendor evaluation, figure out what your budget's going to be, set up the tools, and do a short, quick pilot program. In the next 30 days, you can expand that to the few client-facing areas that you want. Make sure that the staff that's going to use it is fully trained. Integrate it with any of the tools that you need, such as your CRM and your project management tools, and make sure that you're doing performance monitoring. In the last 30 days, you could launch into other capabilities such as marketing campaigns, making sure that you have that cultural awareness that we talked about as you start to grow into more detailed use cases, and creating multilingual service offerings, both in your product and your services, and creating partnerships in your target markets that help you. Some of the results that you can expect based on some of those case studies would be improvements in customer interactions, hopefully some more prospects in the pipeline, cost savings in your translation expenses, and the foundation for increased international revenue growth, which was really where your hope would be. A few quick wins that you can target in the prior chart would be internal multilingual team meetings. If you do have multilingual users inside of your team, you can do real-time translations for meetings, and that would save them time on having to do that themselves. You can start with customer service email responses. If you're automating those with AI, build two automations, one that sends out the English, and if your customer is checked off, send it to me in Spanish. I'll run it through a separate flow and send it through Spanish, which is, of course, in DFW, the secondary language that is most prevalent. Proposal development. Here's another place where you can achieve faster turnarounds if you're doing international customers and they want another language, such as Montreal, Ontario, requiring French for Canadian regulations. You can do that. One thing I suggest is that you create a library of pre-translated proposal templates if you're going to sell into these target markets multiple times. So I think that these are some great examples that you could start with. A few questions and answers, since there probably are going to be some. I think that security and compliance always comes up. What about data security? If you use the AI tools in an enterprise setting and check all the settings, you are not sharing your data with the model typically. That is what they have told you. And you have to trust that as much as you trust Dropbox or Google Drive or other things that you're putting your data into. What's the real cost between human interpreters and AI, and how do we measure success? The way to measure ROI is always to set a baseline, measure against that baseline. I think that if you need more help with that, come and ask me. We'll work through that together. Accuracy and quality, we've talked about it. I think this is once again a place where keeping a human in the loop is really important. Do the translation, then run it through an interpreter for less money, or do the translation and run it through a native speaker that's local to your company. That's the way to make sure that the accuracy and quality is there. Cultural considerations, I think these nuances are probably one of the hardest parts if you've ever done international business. It's really hard to get it wrong. I mean, it's really hard to get it right, and it's very easy to get it wrong. And what you need to do is make sure you're working with your vendor partners and your customers to understand when you make mistakes and not be afraid to ask for that feedback. And finally, implementation strategy: which industries are seeing the fastest return? What's the competitive landscape? These are some questions that you're going to have to answer on your own. I've given you lots of data and a roadmap to get through it, but you're going to have to ask yourself, where does this make sense for my business? What do I think I can invest to make a customer feel more comfortable and potentially buy more from me? So with that, we will turn it over to Q&A, and I'll give a quick free commercial. I would love to give a 30-minute consultation to identify anyone's biggest AI opportunities, which includes a free 19-question AI readiness assessment. If you want to do that, go to the website strategy4.ai. Some other things that I do is I put together opportunity workshops and build some of the things that we've talked about. And I've also put out a new book as of yesterday. I have a 120 plus page book that's available for free on my website. It's about mid-size business's AI strategy. And I really had a fun time writing it. It's human centric. It talks a lot about strategy and AI together. A quick sneak peek in the book. The 4S AI maturity model is a model that I came up with just to help people remember the 4 different steps to get through when you're doing an AI implementation. First, do the strategy and planning, then build one thing at least with a sprint, scale that one thing up, and then learn to sustain it and maintain it. And with that, we'll go to the Q&A. And I will take everybody off of the ability to mute. Now, everybody can unmute themselves if they want to. Any questions?
Nope, just a comment from me of thank you for another great session. But I don't have any additional questions. You answered mine along the way.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate everyone joining, and thanks again for everybody. And I look forward to, we're only going to have these sessions now once a month, and I'll send out to everybody what the next month's session will be. I really appreciate everybody joining. Thanks again.
Thanks, Brett.